So welcome to this podcast. Welcome Moona Kiistala. My name is Kristi Orspää and I'm joined by Moona Kiistala, who has researched multicultural work environments. She has looked into how different cultures come together. What are some of the risks and opportunities related to this? You selected this topic, but can you tell us what is a multicultural work environment?
Yes, nowadays company can have easily from 10 to even 100 different nationalities within their employees, each with their own cultural backgrounds, even languages. A company can have easily 50 different languages, so how do you manage a workforce like that when there's no common language? And then there's the cultural part. Each have their own views on hierarchy, punctuality and openness. And this is something that concerns several industries, construction, cleaning industry, just to mention a few. It's only estimated to grow and concern more industries in the future.
Right, so what were the actual specific questions you sought to answer with your study?
I identified 3 main research questions. And the first research question aimed to answer what are exactly the factors causing the risks. And then the second research question actually tried to look for the risks. What are the actual challenges that the employees and the employers face? And then the third research questions aimed to answer these challenges by more forward-looking question, looking for solutions and best practices that companies are using or should be using. And I answered these 3 research questions by completing 15 interviews. It included 11 interviews with different companies and then 3 expert interviews with 2 different labor unions that are major players within their fields, and then 1 interview with Finnish authority. A really comprehensive empirical research, I would say. The company interviews included companies from different industries, from construction to food manufacturing industry to shipbuilding, and the list goes on. So a good selection of companies, I would say.
Excellent. And what were some of the highlights from those interviews? Is there something that came to mind specifically?
I remember well the interviews with the labor unions. We had really good discussions as they had good expertise on this topic, and they've been looking for solutions for this exact same thing for years. So pretty good insights from them.
Right. And out of your research, what were some of the findings and conclusions that you came to?
Most important finding that I made was that companies do not acknowledge the cultural differences and language barriers to affect their risk management and safety communication. So I would say that the biggest challenge is that the companies don't identify their challenges. And then a second observation that I made is that the topic is quite sensitive. Companies might be a bit scared to talk about this to not seem like they treat their employees differently. I think this is one of the reasons why it's hard to acknowledge that the cultural differences actually affect the risk management. And then the third point that I would like to highlight is that employees with multicultural backgrounds lack of information that is self-evident for the main population. It can be safety attitudes or safety standards, hierarchical structures, and so on.
Right, and you mentioned communications. So what are some of the issues around communications, around safety communication, for example? What are some of the things that you can provide for clients as tips and suggestions for how to support these multicultural work environments?
So I think the similar kind of risks concern all the employees, but when there's a risk of miscommunication, even the so-called human errors can increase. Of course, there are the practical tips like increasing visuality in forms of pictures, videos, and symbols, and so on, or translating the material to different languages to reach the employees with their native languages. But I would like to highlight more the organizational culture solutions, which are, for example, acknowledging that cultural differences and language barriers affect the risk management and safety communication. And when these challenges are acknowledged, it's way easier to find solutions when there's actually a challenge. Most importantly, I would like to encourage companies to start a discussion about this topic and involve their multicultural employees part of their risk management and safety communication planning, so that it is targeted for the audience that is intended.
Absolutely. So it's better to have onboarding, for example, in your own language, and a way that you can better understand the safety in your work environment.
Yeah, I would say so, that you can do all these so-called magic tricks to your employees, but when it's not planned specifically and ask what would be exactly the things that would improve the communication, it might not be sufficient enough. So just include the audience that it's intended for.
Excellent. Thank you so much for these insights, and thank you for the interview, Moona.
Thank you.